We greet you from Wrigley Field today, and so far the weather has cooperated as the Cubs wrap up this homestand. It's the leadoff man on WGN Sports. A rubber game today, Padres and Cubs coming up. Hope your weekend is going well. Alongside Jim DeShays, I'm Len Casper. What a wild finish yesterday. The Cubs hoped to win in 9. It ended up taking them a couple of extra innings.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be an easy win. It proved to be anything but easy as the bullpen that had been so good struggled a little bit. The Padres rallied for 4 in the 9th. Rondon blows the save, but a big clutch walk-off hit by Starlin Castro. He was among the heroes, and Miguel Montero as well with 2 home runs.
And Chris Bryant in his second big league game reached base 5 out of 6 times, and we'll chat with the Cubs rookie third baseman when we come back to Wrigley Field. The Hyundai Leadoff Man is brought to you by your Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers, who invite you to test drive our award-winning lineup today. Visit buyhyundai.com. And for Chris Bryant, great defense, but struggled at the plate in his debut on Friday. He reached base 5 times yesterday after committing a first-inning error. So he tries to get settled into a big league routine, which hasn't been easy here early on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that gives you a little confidence, too, when you got a routine that you can go to. And, yeah, the first couple days have been a little weird for me. But I expected it. I mean, and I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly.
So what was Friday like for you and your family? The embrace with your dad before batting practice almost brought a tear to everybody's eye. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was exciting. I mean, you know, I'm glad that they got to come out here and, you know, watch me play my first game. And, you know, I've never really seen my dad like that before, so it was cool to see him like that. And, you know, my whole family, too, they were all so excited to see my dream come true. And I'm excited to get this journey started.
I know the fans mean a lot to you. You signed a ton of autographs. When you're in your zone playing the game, either defensively or at the plate, do you hear the crowd go crazy when they announce your name coming up to the plate, or do you try to kind of block some of that out?
Well, these first 2 games I have, I mean, they've been pretty special, and it's really cool to hear that. I mean, I honestly haven't really played in front of 35,000 people before, so you do hear a little more, but it's all good things. You know, they're the best fans in baseball, and I'm glad they're on our side.
Let's go back to when you were drafted by the Cubs. What does it mean to wear this uniform and to be part of this storied organization?
Yeah, it's a huge honor. I mean, so many people, you know, have come through this team, and, really good players and good people. And, for me to put on this uniform every day and follow in their footsteps is a dream come true. And, I sure hope to make them proud in everything I do on and off the field.
I'm sure if I asked you who your baseball hero is, you'd probably say your dad, but there had to be some player growing up that you idolized. Who was that guy?
Yeah, I watched a lot of different players. I liked Barry Bonds growing up. He was fun to watch it. And, of course, Manny Ramirez, who's actually in the clubhouse now with me, and I get to talk to him on a daily basis and pick his brain a little bit. So he was one that I watched, and, he's just a really good hitter and a really good person, too. And I'm glad I got the chance to meet him and talk to him.
So you're going to face guys this year, and you've already have in spring training and maybe already this weekend, who you probably grew up watching a little bit. What kind of moment is that for you? And once you get in the box, you forget about that. But is it a pinch me moment every once in a while?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, facing James Shields in my first game is pretty special and surreal at the same time. I mean, a couple years ago, they were on my fantasy baseball team, and now I'm facing them in a game. So it is really cool, and it's a challenge. And I realize that, I'm not going to get hit every time. I'm not going to have a good game every game, but, I got to go out there and be confident in my abilities, and I definitely am.
All right, last question for you. When you look at yourself as a baseball player right now, and you look at yourself a year or two down the road, what are the things that you really need to do to improve every day?
I mean, I always said I can improve in all areas of, my game. Having a more solid approach at the plate, more focused, not really letting the grind of 162 games get to me. Working on my defense every day, even stealing some bases. I mean, I want to be that complete player and help my team win in any way possible, and I'll work, as hard as I can to do that.
Chris Bryant, great to have you here with the Chicago Cubs. Thanks.
Thank you.
Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers who invite you to test drive our award-winning lineup today. Visit buyhyundai.com. Time for first to third as we look around baseball. Matt Holliday's back flared up yesterday. Cardinals hoping he can be in their lineup later tonight as they host the Cincinnati Reds. They look for their fifth straight win. The Mets are red hot, off to a 9-3 start, winning their last 7 in a row. And Adrian Gonzalez, I guess the early leader for National League MVP, but we're only a couple of weeks into the season. The Dodgers are 8-3. We have the Cubs hosting the San Diego Padres coming up. But first, we're going to go down to the field, and the Messmers have God Bless America and our national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please rise. Kindly remove your caps and join Wayne and Kathleen Messmer as they honor our nation with God Bless America, followed by our national anthem.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above.
From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
From the corner of Clark and Addison here on the north side of Chicago, WGN Sports brings you Chicago Cubs baseball. The home team wrapping up a week-long stay trying to win another series to start 2015. Good pitching matchup today as a former Cub, Andrew Cashner, looking for his first win of the season. Same goes for lefty John Lester. This is his third start as a Cub. We'll have the first pitch next. Chicago Cubs baseball has been brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at localfordstores.com. Subway, make a smart play for savory subs this season. Score more flavor at Subway restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. TrustedChoice.com for all your insurance needs. Honda Dream Garage Sales Event, now at your Honda dealer. And by Budweiser, still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you. TV is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. The weather was a big concern going into today. Yeah, we'll do a little work here on this. But so far, so good.
I was going to give you those.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Boy, when we left the ballpark yesterday, we thought maybe we wouldn't even play this ball game here today. But the weather's holding off. Hopefully we'll get it in. John Lester making his third consecutive home start, trying to get on the beam. That's a big storyline here today. And, of course, we're waiting for that first long ball from Chris Bryant. So a lot of things to look forward to in the ball game here this afternoon.
And the umpires before the Cubs take the field. James Hoy will get home plate. John Hirschbeck is the crew chief at first. Sam Holbrook at second. Bill Wilkie is over at third. Now the Padres starting lineup missing a big bat. Will Myers leading off. Yangervis Solarte with his only start of the series at first base today. Matt Kemp is in right. Derek Norris will hit cleanup. Justin Upton left the game in extras with a mild quad issue, so he is out of their lineup today. Will Middlebrooks has had a big series. Jed Jerko's at second. Will Venable in for Upton in left. Clint Barmas, a veteran, starting at short. And the pitcher Batting ninth, Andrew Kashner.
And the Cubs defensively feature an outfield of Chris Coghlan, Dexter Fowler, Jorge Soler. Infield of Bryant, Castro, Herrera, Rizzo. David Ross for the third consecutive time doing the catching today with John Lester on the mound. Big lefty off to a slow start. And in 2 starts, he's 0-1 with a ERA of 7.84. He's given up 18 hits in 10 in the third innings. Just has not been sharp yet. Fastball, cutter, curveball change. Ball's been up in the strike zone for him. The cutter has not been effective. He hasn't been able to get it in on the hands of the right-handed hitters. But the track record tells you that's been a turnaround here in fairly short order.
Well, if somebody is going to be the player of the day on all of the games going on today, they're going to have to do something pretty special because Yoenis Cespedes has already hit 2 home runs and knocked in 6 for Detroit.
Wow.
They lead the White Sox 7-0, a grand slam in the first inning for Cespedes. Keep you posted on everything else. The main event is the Cubs hosting the Padres as Will Myers digs in. Former American League East battle here, Lester and Myers. You would have seen that, Boston and Tampa Bay, but now it's the Cubs and the Padres. Myers shows bunt. Pitch missed.
And it was on the plate, maybe a little bit low, but that's been a big key for Lester to be able to keep that ball down around the knees. Turn his fastball over, run it away from a right-handed hitter, as well as throw that cutter.
And that ball caught by Castro. He's had a fine defensive homestand, and he just took away what should have been a leadoff hit.
Well, that was a rocket off the bat of Will Myers. Beautiful play by Castro. Let's take a look. Quick reaction, good glove work. And a quick first out here for John Lester as he tries to settle in.
Switch batting on Hervé Solarte. Game-tying pinch hit. RBI single in the 9th yesterday off Hector Rondon. That was batting left-handed. As the Padres scored 4 times to send it beyond regulation. Cubs would win it in 11. 1 ball, 1 strike. Swing and a miss. It's 1-2. Change up?
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah.
6'4" southpaw coming back and just missed maybe outside or low. Lester working with David Ross for the 3rd consecutive start to begin the season.
Backdoor cutter trying to work its way to the outside corner. Didn't quite get there. I like the fact that he's been down here in the early going.
That one was up a little bit but hit on the ground. Castro with another chance.
Take a look at our Gander Mountain game time weather. 53 degrees, northeast breeze, not as windy as it was yesterday. Humidity high and a chance of rain. Hopefully that holds off for a good long while. Brought to you by Gander Mountain, low price every day, guaranteed.
Now Matt Kemp, who hit his first homer as a Padre in the opening inning yesterday off Kyle Hendricks, into the teeth of a pretty stiff wind. Career .293 batter, and outside 4-ball-1.
Lifetime .293 overall, .333 against left-handed pitching, and most of these Padre hitters have been better against lefties in their career. Lester gets a break, a dangerous bat in Justin Upton, as Len mentioned, not in the lineup today with a little bit of a quad strain.
Yeah, we were trying to come up with the strategic reasons why you would remove Upton for a pinch runner, Will Venable, in extra innings, and we found out after the game why. He was hurt. Does not appear to be serious.
Early going this year, he's just wearing out lefties, but very small sample. Look out. Look out. Oh, my. I got some of his beverage. There's a theme. It's becoming a theme here. A woman caught a ball in her beer yesterday.
Just glad there are a lot of smiles and everybody's all right. So.
Oh, man. That guy's doused.
He's wearing it, as are the people around him, but he got the ball.
Hey, here's the one yesterday.
It's making the rounds.
That's pretty impressive work right there, yeah. Baseball's version of a Boilermaker. And then go ahead. Go ahead.
A little lightheaded after watching that. Still 2-2. Nice grab, young man. Catcher Ross wasn't quite ready. Wanted to make sure they're on the same page. 2-2 curve in the dirt. Third start for Lester. They've all come in the home pinstripes. Strike three called. 94 on the fastball. Cubs coming up when we come back. Airlines, book your low fare now at southwest.com. Power and speed for this lineup. 10 games in, 11 homers, 12 stolen bases. Fowlers, Soler, Rizzo, 1 through 3. Bryant, Castro had the game-winning hit yesterday. Coughlin in the middle. Ross, the pitcher, Lester, and Herrera at the bottom.
Padres defensively, Venable in there for Upton in left, Myers center, Kemp in right. Third to first will go Middlebrooks. Barmers is very sure-handed. Jerko and Solarte making his second major league start as a first baseman. First one came earlier this year. Derek Norris behind the plate for big Andrew Cashman. Hard throwing right-hander, 6'6", 220. 0-2 so far with a 4.09 earned run average.
Conroe, Texas. He's a stuff guy, no doubt about it. 94 and a fastball to Fowler to start it. The ex-Cub. When he's healthy, he's really good. Staying healthy has been an issue, however. Comes as 1-1. 2 balls and a strike.
Explosive fastball. It sits comfortably at 95 miles an hour. Touch 97, 98. Slider and a changeup. Once in a while, curveball. Fastball command has been the issue for him so far this year. Lack thereof.
If JD still had hair, that's what it would look like in the back.
Be white in all likelihood.
A big piece of Derek Norris. So full count on Fowler. Castor's been a tough luck guy if you go back to August of 2013. 2.27 ERA, but only a 7-12 record. Clayton Kershaw, Johnny Cueto, the only 2 guys with a better earned run average since August 14th of 2013. '97.
Jumps out of that hand pretty good. 5-7 last year for Cashner. He made 19 starts, 2 different stints to the DL. One due to elbow, the other because of a tender shoulder.
Hit hard but foul to the bullpen. That deflected off the leg of Dale Thayer, one of the Padres right-handed relievers. Fowler doing a good job of working the count. 7 pitches in already. Cubs lead the league in pitches per plate appearance. And that's into right, and it'll drop for a base hit. And he's going to try for 2 now as Kemp dropped it and overran it. So a single and an error on Kemp, and Fowler's at second with nobody out.
Perhaps caught Kemp peaking because of Fowler's speed. Maybe Kemp thought he was going to try to take advantage, take an extra base, and ironically, the mishandle because of that leads to the extra base. It's like an off-speed pitch. A humpback liner settling into shallow right. Boot can't pick it up.
One strike on Soler. Sharply hit on the ground, throw for a base hit. Fowler around third. Here comes the throw by Myers. It's late. 2 batters in, 1-0 Cubs.
Well, with the threat of rain, a few early runs, not a bad idea. Soler gets that fastball right down the middle.
Well, there is so much electricity in that bat. It seems like everything he hits comes back harder than it was thrown.
Yeah, they track that now. The velocity off the bat. I'd be curious to know what his off the bat velo would be.
I would have a hard time believing he's not among the leaders in that. Padres overshift against Rizzo's. Most teams do, so Middlebrook's the only guy on the left side of second base. And a strike call. 2 guys who are traded for one another, Cashner and Rizzo. Got on base 4 more times yesterday, once via an error. Look at his on base percentage, .467.
Puts him in the top 10 in the National League.
He pops it up. This will be the first out of the inning. As Barmas makes the play, 1 away.
Hitting next, the third baseman, number 17, Chris Bryant.
Bryant, the cleanup man, but our leadoff man as well here on WGN. You caught our pregame conversation. I asked him off the air, "Are you getting enough sleep?" He said, "Yeah, I am." See, that's where it helps to have a father who played baseball. He can, as exciting as it is for the family to be around Chris this weekend, his dad can say, "He needs his rest."
Yeah. Let's let him settle down. Yeah.
Two balls, no strikes. He got on 5 out of 6 times yesterday with 3 walks and 2 singles. In there to make it 2-1.
In the old days, we'd talk about flash bulbs popping.
Changeup.
Yep. Yeah.
Thrown a couple of those this inning. Swing and a miss. 4 strike 3.
Yeah, boy, Castro, we talked about the fastball command. Well, if you're having a hard time locating your fastball and you throw 97 miles an hour, if you command secondary pitches, you don't have to be quite as sharp with that heater. He threw a couple of real good changeups in that sequence, including strike 3.
Soler still at first, 2 gone, and now Starlin Castro, who yesterday picked up the 4th career game-ending RBI for the Cubs shortstop. Done a breaking ball from Craig Kimbrell. Rolled it in the left. Cubs win. Bounce to the shortstop, Barmes. He's smooth over there. Dropped by Solarte as he and Castro come together at first base. Soler now to third. And the inning is still alive. And as you mentioned, Solarte, not a lot of experience over there at first. Well, that should have been as routine as it gets.
Yeah, pretty sloppy play here by the Padres in the first inning. Kemp with a miscue out in right. A little bit of an offline throw from Barmes. Solarte not able to hang on. A little bit up the line, but
ball 1 on Chris Coghlan. It's the second collision Castro's had on this homestand. He was on defense the other night when he and Brandon Phillips got together at third base. You mentioned Solarte, very little experience at first at this level. Only 1 game in the minor leagues at first base as well.
yeah, so you know normally when a player's playing first base for the first time or the first few times, it's positioning for cutoffs and relays, footwork around the bag. Generally, anybody should be able to catch the ball over there. That part of it shouldn't be so hard for a guy who's a middle infielder.
Ground ball, base hit. Soler's going to score. Castro on his way to third, and the Cubs take advantage of this sloppy defensive first inning by the Padres and now lead 2-0.
A nice swing of the bat here by Coghlan, and that's got an early meeting on the mound for the Padres. There trots home with run number 2. Castro hustles on into third.
So this visit from Bud Black may be more about everybody other than Castner. Let's help our starting pitcher here a bit, guys. And now David Ross.
At the plate for the Cubs, the pitcher, number 3, David Ross.
Took a pinch hit walk in the 11th inning yesterday ahead of the Castro game-ending RBI hit.
I think a lot of that too is, he's got Lester on deck here. There's 2 outs. We'll see, make sure they're ready in case the Cubs put some kind of a play on here with runners on first and third. Try to steal a cheap run.
I was talking with David about the idea of patience when you kind of understand what is going on with the opposing pitcher. Was it Tyler Matzik? Somebody on this last road trip who was struggling with his command.
Matzik was for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he said, talking to some of the younger guys about, hey, if the guy's going to hand us the game, well, let's take it. So you kind of read the situation, what the pitcher's doing, what the other team's manager wants to do. And David knew that they weren't going to give him a good pitch to hit yesterday in that 11th inning with a base open. So that created the opportunity for Castro. I don't know how you really quantify the idea of veteran leadership in a clubhouse. But it seems different this year, doesn't it? With guys like Ross, Fowler, and Lester, and Montero.
Yeah, I think it's easier to find in veterans because you're able to identify certain traits that players have. So I don't think it necessarily has to be a veteran, but you want smart baseball players. You want guys who can have the right approach, and other players who don't quite have the baseball IQ can learn from them.
And it's usually, not always the case, better when a teammate says it than a coach or a manager. Because their job's to teach, and a lot of times it goes in one ear and out the other. But when one of your teammates says it, it carries a little more weight for a lot of guys.
It gets reinforced.
Lester 0 for 39 in his career, but I don't think it's too far down the road when he's going to pick up his first hit. He can swing it a little bit. This would be a nice time for that first hit with the bases loaded. Chop to third. That'll take Middlebrooks right to the bag and end the inning. But 8 batters come to the plate. A couple of errors, 2 runs, and the Cubs have the early lead. WGNTV.com, sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent, serving the area for 37 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. If you missed the Chris Bryant leadoff man interview, you can find it there. Or if you saw it and you want to see it again, go to our WGN Baseball blog. By the way, got a lot of tweets. Thank you to our very astute fans. BaseballSavant.com is the list of exit velocity. Jorge Soler trailing only Alex Rodriguez in the first couple of weeks. Cut and a miss by Derek Norris against a former teammate. They were in Oakland together at the end of the year last year. In the wild card game in Kansas City, Norris came in for Giovanni Soto, who had to leave early with a thumb injury, and then watched the Royals steal 7 bases in that comeback victory. Lester is on the mound for much of that game, but Norris has improved a ton here early on. He's already caught 6 would-be base stealers in 15 tries.
Yeah, just 17% last year, which is well below league average, and this year he's well above league average. And of course, so much depends on the guy on the mound, if he gives you a fighting chance or not.
Soft liner, and Castro just can't get it. First base runner and hit for the Padres. Leadoff single by Norris in the cleanup spot for the first time this year, with Upton out of the lineup, and now Will Middlebrooks.
No real surprise given Norris' success the last couple seasons against left-handed pitching. Since 2013, a .316 average, .402 on base, and a .525 slugging against southpaws for Norris.
He sounds kind of like a Billy Beane type player, doesn't he? Oh, that's right, he was in Oakland. Another former teammate of John Lester's, Will Middlebrooks from Boston.
See how aggressive the Padres are on the bases today, and how much they try to challenge John Lester with his throwing issues on pickoffs. Norris not a base stealer, but he had measured. Whoops, somebody's gone. Wow, buddy.
Continues his chat with James Hoy. Do we think it was Buddy?
I think it's Buddy. I'm not sure. Somebody in that dugout must have been grumbling about the call on that first pitch to Middlebrooks. Good pitch.
So the bench coach Dave Roberts will manage the Padres the rest of the afternoon.
Wow, you talk about exit velocity. that's pretty quick thumb there.
One hit a ton to deep left, and it's going to get out of here. Will Middlebrooks got all of it, and we're tied. Second game-tying home run of this series for Middlebrooks.
Appeared to be a cutter that they were probably trying to get in on the hands. That pitch better delivered up above the belt a little bit in tight, if that indeed was what he was trying to do. Third home run of the year for Middlebrooks.
Fowler has to play it on a hop. So Jerko's aboard. 3 straight hits to start this Padres second.
And the Baltimore fielder, number 25, Will Hannibal.
Fowler got caught in between there a little bit, was contemplating trying to make a play on that ball.
Matchup for Venable. Again in for Upton, who, by the way, 5 for 7, 2 homers against John Lester. So you know Justin Upton wanted to be in that lineup. Venable making just his second start. And the 0-1 hit foul out of play. Pretty safe to say it is going to rain at some point today or this evening here in Chicago. It's just a matter of when. As you alluded to it earlier, it'd be best served grabbing a lead and holding it as we get into the middle innings today. Forecasts change, we know that, but what the general consensus is, JD, that once we get to a certain point today and it starts raining, it may rain for a long time.
Not going to have a window. I know, it's been a big concern with John Lester. He did not throw over to first base at all last year. He made that errant throw in his last start here against Cincinnati. They've been working with him. Joe Madden said the one thing they really wanted to reinforce with John was, look, you know there's this issue over here at first base, but it's 2 parts. Do your best holding the runner, but when it's time to pitch, commit to the pitch. Don't worry about the base runner anymore.
Strike 3 called.
So he was committed to that pitch. 94 miles an hour on this fastball, much like the one he threw to Matt Kemp. It's on the other side of the plate to the left-handed hitting Venable.
Now the pride of Vincennes, Indiana, Clint Barmas, 36-year-old shortstop. For Amarista today. Strike call.
It's another one of those guys who's been much better against lefties in his career than right-handed pitchers. Occasional power.
Snagged by Lester, and he'll throw the glove.
And Rizzo drops his glove so he could catch Lester's glove. That's the smartest play in the history of baseball.
Little Terry Mulholland piece.
With the tip of the cap, at some point along the way, Lester probably saw that video, Terry Mulholland making that play. But how about Rizzo dropping his glove? This is just very clever. Look at Riz, he drops his. Good thing the ball didn't pop out. Cradle it.
And a standing ovation as they showed the replay on a video board that prior to this year wasn't here.
That's good stuff. The unfortunate thing for Lester was that was a double play ball.
Well, he may have issues throwing the ball to first, but not a glove.
Oh, that's great.
That is a fair ball, and Cashner didn't even get out of the box. Ross to Rizzo to end the inning. Middlebrooks tied it with a 2-run homer, but you're going to see this during rain delay coverage for the next 100 years.
Monday, the Pirates are in town for a 3-game set. Tickets are still available, and you can get yours by going to Cubs.com. So this has been eventful. We've had sloppy play by the Padres. We've seen the manager ejected. We've had a home run. We've had a ball in the glove put out.
Jonathan Herrera takes a strike, 7th consecutive start for Herrera. Middlebrooks way in and off the line at third. Solarte in at first. 0-2.
Cashner starting to really get the feel for that changeup, and it's going to be problematic for the Cub hitters.
It was Terry Mulholland to Bob Brenly playing first base. The Giants, I believe they were in New York. Fouled off, still 1-2.
Did Beebe keep his glove on?
I think so. We're trying to locate.
You got some video?
Video of it. Two bounces to Solarte. He'll underhand to Cashner for the out. Send us your Cubs selfies. Hashtag WGN Cubs. That is a selfie. I took that picture. These kids today make me feel really old.
Why? You look like a 25-year-old in that picture.
Yeah, right. That was the first take, by the way. We
didn't rehearse it,
dress it up or anything. No. Excellent first at bat for Fowler. Worked a deep count. Eventually singled into right. Second on the same play on an error by Matt Kemp. Scored on the Soler RBI single.
She's either from Germany or her name is Munich. Yes, from Germany. Munich loves the Cubs.
Kemp is in and he makes a catch.
Host your best customers and guests at a private suite here at Wrigley Field. The Nuveen Investment Suites can accommodate anywhere from 15 to 55, include food, all you can drink beverages, and parking. To book your premier experience at the ballpark, visit Cubs.com/suite. See, they're having a lot of fun, you can tell. Smiling, chowing down.
Soler to left. Long run over Venable, and he makes a catch. By the way, Cubs made a roster move before the game. We'll tell you about that when we return. 2-2.
This Bud's for you.
There's Will Myers. Lined out. Nice play by Starlin Castro in the first inning. Cubs today selected right-hander Gonzalez Germain from AAA Iowa. We saw him in spring training, and they have optioned outfielder Matt Caesar to Iowa. Germain here to help out a bullpen that's been very busy.
Yeah, that's the other part of the equation on a day like today. You like to get some length out of your starting pitcher, whether it rains or not, and get some tired arms in the bullpen.
Cubs farm system notes. Albert Almora, AA Tennessee, went 5 for 5 last night. Swing and a miss. He got him on strikes. Out number 3, 1 per inning for Lester.
Well, you saw David Ross prior to the pitch call for the fastball up. Lester's very coachable, elevates the heater and gets the swing through.
Right-hander Dwayne Underwood, 6 innings, 2 hits for the Myrtle Beach Pelicans. The victory yesterday. Solarte fouls. Right-hander Starling Peralta has been promoted from High A Myrtle Beach to AA Tennessee. Blake Parker goes on the Iowa disabled list. It's a 7-day DL. Strike called 1 and 2. have exactly what the ailment is for Parker. Just saw the release, but no injury given.
Just missed a little bit down. You see David Ross trying to massage that pitch, bring it up just a little bit to buy that strike from Hoy. On the plate, but just a little bit low.
Bryant backed up a half step. Gets Solarte.
Right fielder, Matt Kemp.
John Lester, a very durable pitcher. 31 years of age, and now the last 7 years he's made at least 30 starts each and every season. Career 116 wins against 68 losses, and lifetime ERA of 3.61. One of the reasons why the Cubs were willing to give him as much money as they did for as long as they did. He just profiles as a kind of guy, even as his velocity goes down, he'll still be a very competitive pitcher because of the makeup, the pitchability. He's not a guy who typically throws 95 miles an hour anyway. We've seen him at 94 a couple times today, but 91, 92 is kind of where he sits. Good movement and location.
The 2-0 to Kemp is outside.
I think the comparable that Theo and Jed talked about at the time was Andy Pettit. Pettit, a guy who relied on that cutter.
Swinging away 3-0 and a base hit for Kemp through the hole on the left side. Keeps the inning alive for Derek Norris.
2 outs, nobody on. They're going to give a green light to Matt Kemp, hoping he can do damage. He rolls over on this ball. He finds a hole on the left side of the infield. On the diving Bryant. Slips past Castro into left.
Hey, one other Cubs farm system note. Yesterday or last night, the South Bend Cubs set a franchise record, 7,575 fans at 4 Winds Field. You see South Bend take on the Great Lake Loons last night. So already a ton of support in South Bend as they are now affiliated with the Cubs for the first time.
They do kind of a cooing noise, a loon. Oh, yeah? Fans, they're not booing, they're looning.
Swing and a miss.
I've been watching the Padre base runners here, and they're fully aware of Lester's issues throwing to first base, so they're getting some pretty aggressive leads, but it seems like nobody really wants to commit to go on first move or to try to draw a throw. They don't want to be the guy who's hung out to dry.
Runner goes. Ross's throw. Safe. As Kemp appeared to go around the tag of Herrera. Herrera did not seem to indicate that he got him. I'm just curious, did Kemp actually get to the bag as he went to the outfield side?
Does that little swim move there.
Boy. That's a good maneuver right there.
Yeah, sure is. And then the back leg comes on to replace the hand. He got a nice jump, but Ross was quick. Lester's quick to the plate. That really helps, obviously. David Ross, for his career, has thrown out 37% of would-be base stealers, and that's About 10% better than league average. It's not Yadier Molina, but it's really, really good.
Rizzo back to the bag as he let Herrera field it, and the inning comes to an end. 2-2. It's been a fun weekend, hasn't it?
Yeah, good baseball, good stuff.
Stretch here, 8 out of the first 11 at home. It's starting tomorrow. 14 of the next 20 will be on the road, starting with 4 in Pittsburgh. We're back here on WGN on a Tuesday evening. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at local Ford stores. Andrew Kashner has decided the changeup is a good pitch for him today, and that was a dandy.
Yeah, especially when he keeps it on the plate. Every now and then he'll drop down and the ball will kind of run off the outside corner. And when he stays more up and down with his delivery and throws it over the plate, but with that good straight down sinking action, it's been a heck of a pitch for him.
Bryant and Castro to follow. I don't want to get too spoiled early on, but I mean, look at this lineup today. Soler, Rizzo, Bryant, Castro. 4 in a row. Rizzo did not come up through the Cubs system, but you almost treat him like a guy who did. Got him when he was still kind of a prospect. So you're getting that homegrown feel to this lineup. And it keeps building. Line and caught by Solarte, who had to leave his feet.
Bit of bad luck there for Rizzo. He really hit that ball hard. Nice play by Solarte. Issues defensively at first base because he just hasn't played there. This is only his second game. Yeah, and I don't. To me, I don't put a whole lot of stock when looking at a big league roster as to where the players came from. The whole concept of them gelling together, coming up through. I don't buy into that very much. But it's just when you have a lot of young players coming up to the big leagues, they're inexpensive young players. That, to me, that's the key. You've got all these young kids that aren't costing a whole lot of money, and they're ready to produce at the big league level.
case of Soler, Rizzo, and Castro, all with long-term contracts but affordable.
There's a lot of ways you can put a good team together. I think it's easier if you have a group of guys that are all coming together at the same time.
Bryant just got nicked by that fastball at 97, and you do not want to get hit flush by that fastball.
On base 5 times yesterday. Another reach here as Castro tries to push him back with an up and in heater. The other thing about Bryant, and he alluded to it with you in the interview, that he considers himself a complete player with the slugging, the defense, and the ability to steal a bag or two.
Yeah, he definitely mentioned that specifically.
Good athlete. Saw with Rizzo yesterday. Rizzo stole 2 bases in the ball game yesterday.
Well, and I mentioned Rizzo not coming up through the Cubs system, but they drafted Andrew Cashner in the first round and traded Cashner for Rizzo. So by proxy, we'll make Rizzo an organizational guy. Does that work for you?
Sure.
Homegrown, once removed. Or I guess twice removed since it's his 3rd organization. There goes Bryant. Castro rolls it into left. Bryant makes a turn on his way to 3rd, and he'll get there without a throw.
Castro continues to find holes. Joe Madden continues to start base runners. Starlin, Joe Madden talked a lot about respect 90 in spring training, about playing the game hard, going down the line. And Starlin has a tendency not to do that, and he almost got burnt here. If this throw comes into 3rd base, there might have been a chance for him to advance to 2nd. But he was breaking it down about 2/3 of the way down the first baseline. So that's, again, that's something that's probably going to need to be addressed.
Now Coghlan. Solarte holding on the runner at 1st. Littlebrooks in at 3rd. Maybe want to send out a very happy 71st birthday. Big Cub fan Ron Hawes watching the game with his family in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. Cut and a miss, 1-1. Fowler chatting with assistant hitting coach Eric Hinsky. Well, it's only been a couple of weeks, but we've already gotten a real good feel for the unpredictability of Joe Madden and his in-game managing. And I like it. There's action. There's stuff going on. And even though this looks to be a team that should slug, he's not going to wait around.
No, he likes to start base runners.
One-two to Coghlan. Now 2-2.
And I think Joe's philosophy is look, a good home run hitter in this era is going to hit 30 home runs, maybe 35. So how many times over the course of the year is the ball going to leave the ballpark? You got to find other ways to score runs.
Oh, strike 3. Coghlan not so sure. Big strikeout for Cashner. And 2 outs in the inning.
Well, it's good luck on our Xfinity pitch tracks. You see doing all that work away, and then 97 on the inside corner, perhaps just a little bit off. That's a tough pitch for a hitter to do anything with.
Well, the other thing about what Joe's doing, number one, he's doing it for strategic reasons, but kind of a residual or side effect of it is it really keeps the guys engaged. There's no assumption now when you reach base that you just run when the guy hits the ball. You've got to pay attention.
Station, yeah. He's all about Well, I mentioned the respect 90 thing during spring training. He was talking about how happy he was with the way his guys were going first to third on base hits to the outfield.
That goes back to his days with the Angels, I would imagine, right? They are really big about first to third.
Yeah. In that respect, Mike Scioscia had earned a reputation of being kind of a National League manager with an American League club.
Side on Ross, 2-1. Cubs got 2 in the first. The Padres had a 2-run homer from Will Middlebrooks in the second, just after his manager was ejected for apparently arguing a strike or a ball call. He thought it was a ball. It was called a strike.
Yeah, and it may be that Buddy thought there was a couple of pitches that Andrew Cashner should have gotten in the previous half inning that he didn't get. As you mentioned, Cashner a Texan, so part of that lineage. Big, hard-throwing right-handers from the Lone Star State. There's Nolan Ryan's number.
I think Cashner's case, so it might be Kerry Wood's number.
Kerry Wood, yeah. That's
Kerry
what I mean.
Wood wore Nolan's.
Yeah, right.
Now Cashner wears Wood's, which was Nolan's. Yeah. Castro runs on the 2-2 and no throw to second. Cashner now back to the windup.
Yeah, pitcher on deck. Probably going to try to get him to chase something out of the zone or not.
Not only are the Cubs stealing bases and leading the league in that category, but they've only been caught a couple of times. So that's a big improvement. The stolen base efficiency.
Get a behind-the-scenes look at beautiful Wrigley Field. The Cubs offer 90-minute guided tours that include a chance to step on the field. That's exciting. This must-see attraction houses over 100 years of history. For more information, visit Cubs.com/tours.
Look out as Ross banged it off the fence right in front of the Cubs dugout. Ed Halber happy the chain link is right in front of that mug.
Ross putting up a good at bat here. Stay low, Ed. You're finding a little extra at 98. Hasn't thrown many sliders here today. Fastballs and changeups. Maybe he'd want to take a shot way up, see if he could get Ross to chase. Another changeup. Two ways to play it here. You got the pitcher on deck, so you could try to throw a chase pitch out of the zone, and if he doesn't chase, you walk him and go after Lester. I'm sure if you're Cashner, you'd rather feel confident that you can get Ross out and then have the pitcher leading off the next inning. With Castro moving into scoring position here, base hit scores probably 2.
Ball 4. Ross has walked both times.
And we thought that this would be a significant improvement in this Cub club this year with some of the patient hitters they've added.
We've seen patience. We've seen power. We've seen speed. Cubs have not allowed an unearned run defensively. So 3 on for Lester again, and he takes a strike. Made contact his first time, but bounced into a fielder's choice at third.
Look out. That one ended up in the beer as well, and a new tradition is born. Look at that old waiter, there's a fly in my soup. Waiter, there's a pop fly in my beer.
Mr. swings and misses. Cubs leave him loaded 2-2 after 3.
Called the strike that got Bud Black rejected on the right. A very similar pitch, maybe in a little bit more right after that. Middlebrooks whacked that one into the seats. Mazda, conviction, creativity, courage. This is the Mazda way.
Well, Middlebrooks, one of the many new Padres. So a couple of big home runs in this series. 2 game tires. This time he rolls to the shortstop Castro.
Upon further review, I don't think this ball landed in this guy's beer. I think it splashed initially. I think he's reaching down there and then put it in. So.
This is kind of like the hidden ball trick in the bleachers, right? The home run ball.
People are going to start showing up with plastic baseball in their beer cup. Maybe a baseball-shaped ice cube to keep your beer cold.
Now you're thinking. Strike called on Jerko. It's 1-1.
The home run ball.
See, they've made a lot of progress, bleachers and left here during this week-long stay. Fun to watch the workers out there during batting practice, quote, working. Try not to take a peek at the batting cage. They do put a net over that area of the bleachers where they're working to protect them. Bryant just can't get it. Jerko on his way to second. Here comes the throw by Coughlin, and he's out. Cubs outfielders leading the majors with 6 assists.
Coughlin got one in yesterday's ball game. This ball slowed down off the glove of Chris Bryant. That's probably why Jerko tried to get to second base. He tried to take evasive action here. There's our speed replay by Xfinity. Herrera's not going to let him through.
2 down. Venables, strike 1. On 2. Dave Martinez, former Cub and the current bench coach, has done a great job with the outfielders, especially Dexter Fowler. Joe Madden talking about Davey and his work with the outfielders after the game yesterday. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. A hit, no runs, nobody left. 2-2 in the 4th.
MasterCard debit card. Only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC.
Strike called on Jonathan Herrera. 2-2 is our score. Cashner and Lester both looking for their first win a couple of weeks into the season.
There's a good slider. Losing record for Cashner last year, 5-7 in 19 starts, but a 2.55 ERA.
The ball backhanded by Middlebrooks. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. 2-2 ball game here at Wrigley Field. Fourth series of the season for the Cubs. Split with the Cardinals to start the year, winning 2 of 3 at Colorado and at home against Cincinnati.
Tried that first pitch changeup to the left-handed hitters on a few occasions now.
Ground ball. Solarte into foul ground. Cashner quickly over to cover. Are you in charge of planning your next social gathering for the office or friends? Bring your group to Wrigley Field and enjoy special perks only available inside the ballpark. The Chicago Cubs offer special ticket packages for groups of 15 or more. Call the group sales office and speak directly with your dedicated executive at 773-404-4242 or visit Cubs.com/groups. Soler 1 for 2 with an RBI and a run. He's had a good homestand. He's knocked in 7 this week. Sure, there were guys you faced who were physically imposing. Soler takes up almost the entire batter's box over there on the right side.
Yeah. There were guys that hit the ball so hard I tried to pitch them in because I didn't want them to hit the ball back at me, whether it was the right scouting report or not. Andre Dawson comes to mind. Jack Clark, violent swing. I mean, you could hear that bat hit his back in the follow through. Pick that up on our field mic down there. He was generating some serious bat speed.
Slider for strike 3. Off to the 5th. Cubs 2, Padres 2. Time for the 5th inning, brought to you by Fifth Third Bank, the Curious Bank. Strike called on Clint Barmas. Hit a ball right back to the mound in his first at bat. Ball ended up stuck in John Lester's glove, so he Tossed the glove and the ball over to Anthony Rizzo for the unique 1-3 putout.
Work on a lot of things in spring training, but that's not one of them. I mentioned Barmer's from Vincennes, Indiana. Vincennes High School, the Lady Alice's is their nickname. Alice of Vincennes was a very popular novel set during the Revolutionary War era. Fully embraced by the town of Vincennes.
Knox County, Indiana.
Probably not as menacing as the Red Dragons and the Purple Warriors or something when the Lady Alice's come to town.
Fly ball out to Fowler in center. And he's got it.
Likes to catch that ball middle of his chest. Always makes me a little nervous. He would probably tell me not to be.
Well, I think those kinds of plays, it's 100% fine until one's dropped. If you don't drop it, don't worry about it. It's like Ricky Henderson.
The snatch thing, yeah.
I don't know if he ever dropped one doing that. Cashner bounces to a former teammate.
Ooh, look at Cashner get down the line.
Yeah, he's got a couple of stolen bases.
Man playing the whole game right there.
Good athlete. Stay tuned a little later. The 7th inning stretch is brought to you by Budweiser. Still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you. Main stage cast from the Second City. Current review: Panic on Cloud 9. We went and saw the ETC show at Second City last night. It was terrific.
The what show? ETC?
Yes. Up Comedy Club, the main stage, ETC.
I still haven't gotten over
They're
there.
all great.
I need to get over there. I know.
You got to go. Soul Brother, Where Art Thou is the name of ETC review. A lot of jokes about technology.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to Google it.
Yep.
Double take from Lester. Thought that one had caught the outside part of the plate. Myers a strikeout victim last time up. Time to chase an elevated fastball. Yeah, this one right here. A little higher last time. David Ross has been around a long time. He grew up, but his dad was a softball player. A very good one on a very competitive team. And David was a kid. That was where they spent a lot of weekends going to softball tournaments.
3-2.
In Tallahassee, I think. Somewhere in Florida.
It's foul.
One particular tournament, it's called the watermelon tournament. And every time your team hit a home run, you got a watermelon. So they come home with a whole bunch of watermelons.
ever play softball?
Mm-hmm. Slow pitch and fast pitch.
Ball 4. That is Lester's first walk today. Here's Solarte.
Not close enough to get Myers to chase. Yeah, I grew up on the Canadian border, and fast pitch softball was really big when I was a kid.
16-inch softball, very popular here.
Yeah,
in Chicago. No gloves, right?
Yeah.
No broken fingers.
Don't they play that in the About last night? Is that the movie?
I think that's correct.
Myers has got to go, doesn't he?
Big lead. Long pause by Lester. Not running. Does a good job of holding the runner without throwing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, that's what I said. I mean, even if John never becomes adept at throwing over there, does it just enough to make that part of the weaponry in holding base runners. Changing the timing of his delivery. Unloading quickly when he does commit to going to home plate. And obviously, good work by the catcher, too, will help neutralize the running game.
There he goes. Solarte bounces to Rizzo. To the bag to end the inning. We go to the bottom of the 5th in a 2-2 tie. Cubs off to Pittsburgh. Padres will fly to Denver after this one.
4-game series with the Pirates. Looking to sweep the Brewers this weekend. 5-2 lead for Pittsburgh last time I checked, behind Garrett Cole. Bottom of the 7th.
Here's a 1-1 from Cashner. Rizzo taps one right back to the pitcher for the out. For pitching matchups, Jake Arrieta, AJ Burnett tomorrow night. Monday through Wednesday, 6 o'clock Chicago starts. Travis Wood, Francisco Liriano, lefty night Tuesday here on WGN. Jason Hamill, Vance Worley on Wednesday, and then Thursday getaway day, Kyle Hendricks, Jeff Locke, driven out toward the gap. diving attempt, but Myers can't catch it. Bryant on his way to second. He's got a double. First career extra base hit for the rookie.
2 hits in the ballgame yesterday. A little blooper off the end of the bat and an infield single. Pretty solid contact here for Bryant. Nice effort by Myers, but could not secure the baseball. A 1-out double.
Key here to get this go-ahead run with rain possibly arriving soon. Once we get through 5 innings, somebody has a lead. It could be the ball game.
Yeah, I think it's sprinkling a little bit now. I see some ponchos coming out.
Astros swings and taps foul back of the plate. Driven to right, but Kemp is there to make the grab, and Bryant's going to stay at second. Cubs Authentics is the premier outlet for all MLB authenticated, game used, and autographed Cubs memorabilia. Go to Cubs.com/authentics for more information and to bid on weekly auction items, including game used balls, jerseys, bases, and much more. The Cubs will donate net proceeds from the sale of Cubs Authentics items to Cubs charities. Outside on the Coughlin.
RBI single first time. Last time caught looking at a 97-mile-an-hour fastball that either did or did not clip the inside corner. It was a tough pitch either way. I don't like that one. Late shift by Norris to the inside part of the plate. A perfect pitch from Cashner.
Bounce to Solarte to close out the Cubs. 1-out double, Chris Bryant, but he's stranded at second, and we're still tied after 5. For life. Get a customized photo of the Wrigley Field marquee, a Cubs birth certificate, baby stocking cap and a Rookie of the Year onesie. Go to Cubs.com/kids today.
Lester at 85 pitches here as he begins the 6th. Rondon likely not available today. Same for Pedro Strop. What do you mean ball? Where was that one? Outside?
Let's see.
A little high? Outside. So my bad.
Kept fouls.
Apologies to James Hoy.
Close but missed again. 2-1. We're in the 6th and a 2-2 tie.
What we got here? NC State?
NC State, yeah. Is that a baseball team?
I think, yeah, it looks like a baseball team.
Well, good to have him here.
Yep. If that's any indication.
Here's a pitch. Ball 4.
Lester really upset either with himself or James Hoy, but David Ross is going to go out and chat him up, cool him off a little bit. Wolfpack had a double dip at Notre Dame yesterday.
NC State and the Irish split that doubleheader. I sure wondered. Swing and a miss, strike 1.
Lester would love to get a ground ball from Norris here and get 2. Kemp stole a base last time he was on.
Comebacker and through into center. And the Padres threatening here in the 6th inning. 2 on, nobody out. Second hit of the day for Derek Norris.
Referenced his good numbers against left-handed pitching the last couple of seasons. Continues here this afternoon. Solid up the middle approach. Spazio bouncing out of the Cubs dugout as Brian Schlitter warms.
It is raining in Des Moines, but I guess our game is on the scoreboard. Principal Park. Nice tweet from Cassandra. So we want to say hi to all the iCub fans watching us.
Hi, folks. They have the audio up.
So they have us on. So.
I thought, you know, you might want to sing or something.
Well, we'll wave if they can't hear us. Hi, Iowa. Here.
Hi.
I'll make a sign. We'll put it on here in a second.
Hey, if you're lucky, you'll get on TV. Triple plays in order. Check on Kemp, make sure he doesn't get too big of a secondary lead.
Not sure if you can hear us or not. What does yours say?
Mine says I Heart Iowa.
Seriously?
I don't know. I was scrambling. I didn't know. I didn't know we were going to be on TV.
Here, I'll do it with the Sharpie.
Middlebrooks homered in the second inning, his second home run of the series. There you go. That's how you make a sign. That's how you make a pitch. Middlebrooks not tempted.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm like Will Ferrell coaching third base in spring training. Kick the 2-1. Ball to center. Kept heading back to second, but no chance to tag. Do you remember this?
Match game?
The match game cards?
Like when they put them in when they're answered.
Yeah,
like,
I get what you're saying. Right.
Old Man Periwinkle was sold. Charles Nelson Riley. Well, mad now. The pitching change is coming. John Lester clearly not happy with that decision. The competitor wants to stay in this ball game. Jerko's got a couple knocks off him, and Slitter's a ground ball pitcher. Could be the guy that gets you a double play.
Nice hand for the starter. 2-2. Cubs try to keep it that way. Inning, he will not be able to get the win today, but number one priority is his team.
Yeah, he's clearly upset. Probably very upset with the Kemp walk to get things started here in the sixth. He wanted to stay in. He's a competitor. That's the nature of the beast. But a step in the right direction for John Lester today. I thought he threw the ball quite well. Slitter wants to live. He's got a lively fastball. It's routinely 95, 96 miles an hour. And when it's down, it's got very good sinking action. That's why he gets the call in a situation like this. Joe Madden looking for a double play ball.
1-0 to Jerko, and it's a strike on the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Probably not the pitch he wanted to make, but it sure did look like a strike. It's been a little high.
In the air to right, Soler with a beat on it. Kemp will head to third on the tag play this time, but there are 2 outs. Take advantage of free remote parking and shuttle services on night and weekend games. The remote parking lot is located at 3900 North Rockwell. For details, visit Cubs.com. Venable. It's it foul. Yeah, the sequence the other day kind of turned the game around. Well, it did. It turned the Cubs lead into a Cubs eventual loss. Ryan Schlitter thought he had strike 3 on Will Myers. They made a terrific pitch, couldn't get the call, and then the home run ball was a bad pitch.
Yeah,
so
it was unfortunate. It was in the pitch, the previous pitch, and that's the one that got Joe Madden ejected, was a really good pitcher's pitch. It wasn't a, oh my goodness, that was right down the middle. How did he miss it? Fastball, but it was a pretty good pitch.
First 2 guys got on this inning. Schlitter trying to help John Lester get out of it with no damage and keep this game tied. And that ball will get into center. Not hit hard, but hard enough for Venable. In for Justin Upton today, and he gives the Padres a 3-2 lead.
Run will go on John Lester's ledger. And again, it was elevated. And when you're a sinker baller, that you're a pitch to contact guy, and you're looking for ground balls. But when you get the ball up, bad things happen to you. Even though that ball wasn't hit all that hard, it was up, and Schlitter's much better down.
Late swing that time by Barmes. Shelby Miller 2-0 as the Braves beat the Blue Jays in Toronto 5-2. Jason Grilli already has 6 saves for Atlanta.
Braves off to a good start. They're 8-4 now.
Runner goes from first. That's Venable as Barmes fouls. Mets won again. Matt Harvey is 3-0. And New York has won 8 straight, 10-3 on the season. Miami 3-10 after the 7-6 Mets victory. Venable runs again. Barmes swings and misses. The inning is over. It's 3-2 Padres. Has settled in here, now working with a lead for the first time after giving up 2 runs in the opening inning. See what John Lester's line looked like in his 3rd start as a Cub. Honda Dream Garage Sales event now at your Honda dealer. See a couple of pinch hitters here in the bottom of the 6th. First, Arismendi Alcantara for David Ross. Miguel Montero next for Schlitter. Bunted up along 3rd, and it's foul. The Mauer in the Padres bullpen. Very slow start for Mendy. 2 out of 24. It's Jason Mott in the home bullpen. Deep breath by the big right-hander. Well, the changeup has been a good pitch for Cashner here today. That has been a problem for Alcantara as a big leaguer. We have not seen the change yet in this sequence. So far, fastballs and a slider. That's the change.
Changeup, yeah. Alcantara just has a devil of a time recognizing that pitch. A little adrift right now at home plate. Boy, it's tough too when you're not getting regular playing time and you're in a funk the way he is. You get that 1 AB a day. You want to do something to contribute. Start to press a little bit.
Now Montero, bust out game yesterday, hit a couple of home runs, his first 2 of the season. First 2 homer games since 2010, in the 5th of his career.
And the other way. And he pulled the lefty into the seats and right. Into the would-be seats and right.
Rolled to first, behind the bag, Solarte unassisted. 2 down.
MLB.TV Premium is #1 for streaming live sports. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in True HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details.
Bat broken half.
We talked about the Cubs having a bit of a stressed bullpen. Likely Padres in a similar situation. I don't know if Kimbrel would be available today. If the Padres hold this lead to the 9th, we'll find out. He's worked 3 of the last 4. Threw 20 pitches in the ball game yesterday, just 12 the day before.
It's over in Pittsburgh, 5-2 Pirates. So for the first time in Brewers history, they have begun a season 2-10. Ryan Braun led off yesterday as Ron Renicky was just trying to come up with something. Gene Segura leading off today. They still dropped a 5-2 decision. As he play for Middlebrooks in foul territory, and it's 3-2 Padres as we go to the 7th. Chicago band, OK Go. The writing's on the wall. Tweet, send us your Cubs selfies. Hashtag WGN Cubs. We may use them in an upcoming fan cam segment. So some changes. Jason Mott takes over on the mound. He'll slot into the 9 spot in the Cubs order. Alcantara stays in and plays second for Herrera. Montero now catching after Ross was lifted for pinch hitter. And Yonder Alonso will spell Andrew Cashner at the plate. Cashner went 6 innings, gave up 2 unearned runs, and exits with a 3-2 lead.
Well, we played 1-run ball games in each of the first 2 days of this series, so here we go again into the late innings. Tight ball game. Saw the numbers on Mott. He's been rock solid, including an outing yesterday in which he worked a 1-2-3 7th inning with a strikeout.
Ground ball into right. Alonso off the bench with a leadoff single.
Center fielder, Will Myers.
Padres maybe could have gotten one more out of Cashner, but with his injury history, they're probably going to be cautious with him. This ball's got decent run, but not a whole lot of sink, and Alonso able to get out around it and pull it into right field for a leadoff knock.
Myers had that big day on Friday, 3 hits, including the game-winning homer. 0 for 7 these last 2 days with a walk in his last plate appearance. He finished the game yesterday basically playing first base as part of a 5-man infield.
Jason Mott led the National League with 42 saves in 2012. That's when he was a Cardinal. Spent his entire career with St. Louis prior to joining the Cubs this year. Last year, 29 appearances as he worked his way back from surgery.
Slice out of play. Cub fans, if you want to manage the game along with Joe Madden, log on to WGNTV.com right now. Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner and connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and info while watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape Pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Everything you need to have more fun at home this summer. Two-strike count on Myers. Alonso, the runner at first.
Mott, fastballs and cut fastballs. Every now and then he'll drop down a little lower arm angle, try to get some sinking action. He's always been more of a fly ball type pitcher, fairly typical power pitchers. Repertoire, high fastballs and cutters, a lot of outs in the air and swings and misses.
Bryant at third. They get one, and that's it. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Len and JD and our WGN Sports crew from beautiful Wrigley Field. We've held off the rain, but the Cubs have not held off the Padres' bats. They have erased a 2-0 deficit, lead 3-2 here now in the 7th inning.
Solarte is a guy the Padres may want to play a little hit and run with. Myers, not really a base stealer. Solarte usually can count on him putting the ball in play.
There he goes, and he fouls.
He may have choked up in the bat a little bit too to make sure he made contact. Myers at the top of the batting order, doesn't have those typical leadoff skills. He didn't have a high on base percentage. He did as a minor leaguer, and that may yet develop. He did his rookie year when he was Rookie of the Year. Last year, just a .294 on base percentage. He stole 6 bases in 7 tries.
JD, are you still in here?
I'm over here.
Okay. The Second City has taken over the broadcast booth as they get ready for the stretch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Now 2-1. Season series will resume and be completed in a month's time at Petco Park, May the 19th through the 21st. Joe's got the shades on today.
Talking to Joe before the game, and anticipating that Rondon would not be available today. I asked him, in that case, would you tell one of the other guys that you're my closer today? He said, no, we'll just piece it together. Even when Hector is available, I wouldn't be surprised to see Joe Couple tough left-handed bats coming up. Maybe use Phil Coke for a batter or two. Zach Rosscup, they're gaining confidence in him.
There goes Myers, and another foul ball by Solarte. Still 2-2. Yeah, not set in stone, but I have a feeling the Cubs are going to try to stick with two lefties in the bullpen as long as they can. They really like Rosscup, as you mentioned.
It's like the new guy starting to warm up down there. Gonzalez Germain, just up from Iowa.
I think it's Edwin Jackson.
I'm sorry. Of course it is.
Still 2-2. Throw to first by Mott. Very slight breeze blowing in from center. Myers runs. Solarte high and deep right field. Soler back, and it is gone. That is a two-run homer for Solarte. Just kept fouling off two-strike pitches. 4 in a row, in fact, before that home run. 5-2.
Well, we've said it many times this weekend. This is a different look Padre club. They have a lot more firepower in that lineup. Capable of putting big numbers on the board. And a lot of thump. Solarte's not a guy you think about as being a home run hitter, but that's a cement mixer. That's a spinning slider. Just sat there for him. He leaned on it.
Bounces the construction zone and onto Sheffield. Didn't mean to. We'll gather it. Throw it to Rizzo. 2 away. And it'll bring up Norris. We had Coke and Rondon give up those 4 runs in the 9th inning yesterday. Ryan Schlitter gave up that big home run on Friday. Not today, so bullpen that had been pretty much lights out prior to this series has been touched for some runs this weekend. The 0-1. Ground ball, Alcantara. And it's time now for the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Budweiser.
For Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Welcome the Second City's main stage cast.
All right, Cubs fans, let me hear ya. A 1, a 2, a 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back, for it's root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Let's get some run! Let's get some
The new pitcher is right-hander Brandon Maurer. Will face the top of the Cubs order.
Former Mariner, working for the 4th time, 2nd time in this series. An inning and 2/3 yesterday. Solarte home run gives him a little operating room here. Andrew Kashner, 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 unearned runs, a couple of walks, 5 strikeouts.
Off of third, Middlebrooks has just enough real estate over near the Cubs dugout to make the play.
Good slide ball there. And we've seen that from Soler a little bit in this series, chasing that slider off the outside edge. When you leave it on the plate, pitch he hammers, especially if it's down middle in slider. Of course, there you go, a bit of a hanger there.
Soft dipping liner. Did he catch it? Matt Kemp, and they called him out. I think he did get it, but we'll obviously get another look at it.
Well, he's kind of measuring it. I think if he just keeps coming hard the whole way, he's going to make a much easier play on it. Approaching and evaluating the situation like he's stalking prey. And ultimately, he makes the play. There's a lot of speculation about how this Padre outfield will perform over the long season, especially in their home ballpark. Spacious Petco. The advanced metrics don't really like Padre outfield defensively.
Bauer is 2-0. Rizzo out toward Myers. So Bauer made the pitch. Myers made the catch. And the Cubs go quietly in the 7th. as we get into the 8th inning. We mentioned the Cubs pen got off to a great start. The Padres bats have gotten to them here this weekend. There's Edwin Jackson, 2 scoreless innings on April the 10th. So it's been 9 days since his last and what was his initial outing of this regular season.
Yeah, such is life when you find yourself in Edwin Jackson's position in the bullpen. You're the long guy, and if the long guy isn't needed, you can sit out there for a long time without any action.
On the ground to Rizzo. 1 pitch and 1 out. Middlebrooks retired.
And then on a day when you've got some tired arms, your number gets called. Pitch in a little bit different role. Bottom line is, if you perform well, you can move up the totem pole, so to speak.
Second baseman.
Here comes the rain. It's taking cover. 29,113 in the ballpark today. Some came prepared. There's a good changeup at 87 to make it 0-2 to Jerko. Sean, a big Cub fan, checking in on Twitter from Wichita, Kansas. Checking us out on MLB Extra Innings today. Punched foul into the upper deck. Matt Baker, big Cub fan in Houston.
Commit to this inside fastball. Try. Miss. 95. Jackson certainly still has the stuff to be a very good major league pitcher. It's been a really rough go for him, as Cub fans know, since coming to Chicago. Move to the bullpen. They serve him well. We'll see.
Lofted to right. Lifting back now, making the catch. Soler. Venable gave the Padres the lead with the RBI single off Brian Schlitter. Right-hander Sean Kelly up for the Padres. Willie Blair, former big league pitcher and the Padres bullpen coach. 1-1 on the Princeton product. Will Venable fouled off. 1-2.
Kelly throwing now will lead you to believe that Benoit has probably got the ninth.
Kimbrel got the save on Friday, took the loss on Saturday. This should end the inning. Coughlin in left. As it lightly rains here at Wrigley Field, the Cubs trying to come back late. 6 outs to go. They're down 3. Here's Sean Kelly against Chris Bryant. Chris has struck out, been hit by a pitch, and doubled. Cubs down 5-2 in the 8th, and he sends one sky high on the infield. Middlebrooks near the mound.
That had some serious hang time. That's a big league pop-up. He just missed. Get over slider from Kelly. Looking for the 5th time. So far, he has not put up good numbers.
Castro, 1 out, nobody on. Strike call. Looks like they're having a beanball war in Kansas City. A's and the Royals, a bunch of ejections in that one.
Well, there's been some bad blood there, right? Brett Lowry and Escobar. Somebody they've been a little dust up on the bases, I think.
In the 8th inning, Oakland leading KC 2-1.
I didn't read the whole story, but something about it. Somebody tried to apologize via text. The other guy said he didn't get it. I don't know. The modern era.
Much room over there, and Alonso does not have a play.
Look out, big fella.
Steven Strasburg.
Okay. Yeah, he's all right.
Steven Strasburg got his first win. Nationals over the Phillies 4-1 the final. 7 1/3, 5 hits for Strasburg today. Kemp's had a busy day. And he makes the grab. 2 outs.
You think with that national starting rotation, they'd be immune from any kind of a long losing streak. Run out a top of the rotation arm every single day.
That win gets them to only 6-7 to start the year. Yankees just swept Tampa Bay with a 5-3 win this afternoon. Pineda got the win. In there on Coughlin. Sunday night game is Mike Leake and Adam Wainwright, Reds and Cardinals from Busch Stadium.
Cardinals looking to sweep that series.
The Reds have had all kinds of problems with the Cardinals, especially in St. Louis over the last decade or so. Already losing another series. Billy Hamilton had to leave the game yesterday. And right groin injury, beating out an infield hit. We'll see the Reds in Cincy on Friday. Swing and a miss. Kelly, a 1-2-3 8th inning. Still 5-2 Padres as we go to the 9th. Central Time on Tuesday for the leadoff man, getting you set. The Cubs and the Pirates. Travis Wood and Francisco Liriano in a battle of left-handers. Edwin Jackson, second inning of relief work, facing Barmes, Alonso, and Myers here in the Padre ninth. Bunted. Brian will barehand, and he won't make a throw. Barmes with a perfect bunt single.
Yeah, if you don't get a good grip on that ball, no sense trying to make a heroic play and risk throwing it into the right field corner. It's been raining here for a little bit now. Wet grass, probably a slippery ball, and it's a good headsy play by the veteran Barmes. Yeah, so you've got it, kind of a change-up grip.
Line to Fowler. So Alonso is out. Matt Zolper watching us from his dorm room at Minnesota State Mankato. Shouldn't you be studying, Matt? No, we're glad you're watching us.
That's Minnesota State. That was Craig T. Nelson, was the football coach there. Jerry Van Dyke was on the staff.
Coach, yeah.
Mankato State has a very good baseball program. Used to anyway. 2 or D3, I don't remember which.
Ackerman and Boise, Idaho. Checking in. Swing and a miss by Myers. The ball hit hard, but Fowler is there to make the catch. Couple of lineouts here in this ninth inning. Pitcher spot, and it's Corey Spangenberg off the bench. Back to the 2011 draft. Spangenberg taken 10th in the first round by the Padres. Any guesses on who went right before him and right after him?
2010 draft.
2011. I said 10. I meant 10th pick in the 2011 draft.
No.
Javier Baez went number 9 to the Cubs. George Springer went number 11 to the Astros. Garrett Cole went first overall in that particular draft. Trevor Bauer 3, Dylan Bundy 4, Anthony Rendon 6. Jose Fernandez went 14th.
Brief trial last year for Spangenberg. He hit 290 and 62 at bats. .331 at AA San Antonio.
Matthew just sent us a tweet. It was Mankato State that won 41-20. The baseball
just the other day
we were hearing about recently. Sounds like a football score. 41-20.
Wind must have been blown out.
It's Division II. It was 41-20 in 8 innings. Runner moving on the 3-2 at 2 outs, and Spangenberg gets it foul. So Minnesota State over Bemidji State, 41-20, 53 hits, 8 home runs over a 2-game sweep. Backhanded play Alcantara, and he just gets Spangenberg to end the inning. Bottom 9, last chance for the Cubs now, trailing 5-2. Leading 5-2, and it will be Joaquin Benoit in for Craig Kimbrell today. Benoit was the incumbent closer before the Braves sent Kimbrell to San Diego just before they opened their season.
So a capable plan B when Kimbrell's not available. Benoit's already picked up 3 wins along the way. So he's in the right spot at the right time. He's got a 1.29 ERA.
Facing Alcantara, who bunts foul.
With Middlebrooks way in at third base, Alcantara going to give the bunt a go here to try to get something started. And the Cubs have really struggled here offensively. And they've only had 1 base runner since the 3rd inning. The 1-out double by Bryant in the 5th.
Benoit's got a good changeup. So that's a pitch to watch for Alcantara. There it is. So a couple of changes to start this at bat.
Sometimes you can see it in the eyes of a hitter, can't you? Whether they feel confident at home plate or not.
Got him with the changeup. Montero. Chris Denorfia is on deck. In Jackson's spot. Oh, 0-2. A promising start. The Cubs got a couple of unearned runs in the first inning, took advantage of 2 Padres errors. Then the visitors came right back. Middlebrooks with a 2-run homer in the second off Lester. Took the lead in the 6th, added 2 in the 7th on another home run by Solarte. The kick and the pitch, it's in the dirt. 1-2. Rolled right into the shift. That's Jerko at second and Barmas over there as well. 2 outs. It'll be the former Padre Chris Denorfia. Chris made his Cub debut yesterday off the bench, struck out as a pinch hitter. Trying to keep it alive for the top of the order. Mild sprain of his left hamstring that bugged him during spring training, and that put him on the DL to start the year. He takes a strike.
Trying to play catch up, and Tuesday Francisco Liriano gets a start for the Pirates, a left-handed. Maybe a starting assignment for Denorfia. He's pretty good against left-handed pitching in his career.
Here's the 0-1. 1-1. Yeah, outfield not quite as crowded now with Matt Caesar being sent to Iowa. Nothing he did wrong. It's just the Cubs needed some bullpen help today. I have a feeling we'll see Matt back here pretty soon. Denorfia could not hold up. 1-2. Topper. Benoit fields. The throw gets away. Denorfia will stay at first. No sense taking any chances here. And that's an infield hit for Denorfia.
Wouldn't that be something if that were to blossom into a rally here for the Cubs? Down to their last strike, the 2 outs in the 9th. Little chopper over the mound. Race is on. Benoit has to wait for that thing to come down, and then a kind of an awkward off-balance throw. Denorfia keeps things going. Keep the line moving. Fowler, good on-base guy, and Soler with great power follows Fowler.
Fowler than power? I like it.
Fowler power.
Middlebrooks in on the grass. Fowler's just trying to find any way he can to get Soler to the dish. It's all that matters here. There's a bunt. Pounced on by Norris. He's going to eat it. Back-to-back infield hits. And here is Soler. It's getting very interesting.
Well, a smart play here by Fowler again with that wet grass. Tough to make a play. But regardless of the conditions of the field, that's going to be awfully tough for anybody to make a play. Perfectly placed push bunt here. Down the third baseline. Watch Norris slide on that wet grass.
As Larry Sanders would have said, do not flip. Do not flip. Keep it right here. In the rain, Cub fans on their feet making noise. 2 outs, 2-out rally here in the ninth to get the tying run to the plate.
We've already had a couple dramatic come from behind wins this year. Experience so far for Soler in such situations.
Here we go. Outside.
Good take. We talked about it last time he was up. Very susceptible to that slider off the outside corner. Can be a chase pitch for him. If he's able to lay off and force him into the zone. Capable of big things.
The 1-0 pitch is low. 2 balls, no strikes. Should we get to extras? Right-hander Gonzalez Herman is up in the bullpen. Just here from Iowa.
Soler doesn't get anything to swing at. Pass the baton to Rizzo. Change-up, aggressive swing by Soler. Not a bad idea to be aggressive in this situation. Still got a couple to play with.
Kick and the 2-1. It's a strike. 96.
Man, coming off that changeup, 96 at the knees. That's a quality pitch. Padres, you're just thinking, just stay away from power here. Don't make a mistake with a breaking ball.
Venable very deep and left. A 2-2, swing and a miss, strike 3, tag applied, and the Padres win 5-2 the final as the Cubs drop a series for the first time this season. We'll be